Hey guys, if you're new to Deception Bites, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, guys, it's Thursday, October 24th, and it is 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time if you're on medication. And if you're not, you probably need to be. I'm just saying. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I hope you're all here and ready to begin. I think there's a few people missing, but I think we're probably safe to start without them. Well, don't tell them I said that though. All right. Now, as per usual, we've got lots of news, but first I want to thank a couple people. Thank you, Mo McGee. I think that is how you pronounce your last name. I would imagine that's how you pronounce it. If I'm wrong, please forgive me and correct me in the comments below. But thank you. He is a new, I guess it could be a she, I don't know, a new Patreon supporter. So thank you very much for that. And also, I had two coffee donations. Barb B, thank you. I appreciate it very, very much. And USA First. All right. I'm all for that, USA First. And a couple of you have mentioned that you had problems with coffee donations. So let me know if that is a problem. Let me know in the comments below and I can do something about that. Either get a different, coffee provider or whatever. So there you go. Anyway, I appreciate you guys, those that support me by Patreon or coffee or PayPal or snail mail. It's all wonderful and it all helps. So thank you so much. Now, let's just jump right into the news, but not too hastily because I don't know. I'm just not in a jumping mood tonight. I'm kind of lethargic today. Not sure why. Probably the weather. Anyway. All right, this from Ernest Allen, and I know he was a listener. I think he still is. Anyway, found this on Twitter, and he is replying to Kevin McCarthy, who said Democrats just shoved an election bill through the House that even the ACLU has significant First Amendment concerns about. They don't just want to undo the 2016 election, they want to silence voters in all future elections. Now, Ernest Allen replied to that and said, no surprise there. The elections for decades have been a hoax, a sham that keep us all thinking our vote, our voice still mattered. But Trump is changing that, and they can no longer trust the process to give them the outcome they always demanded. Now, I happen to feel that there is truth in that. I think that the elections have been rigged for a very, very long time, and I think that the election was rigged so that Hillary would win, but oops, that didn't happen. So maybe there is a point by which, they can rig the elections, but maybe there's a point to which, if so many people vote, against what they think they're going to vote, maybe it overrides that. I don't know. Or maybe somebody overrode the election tampering somehow. I don't know. I wish they would do the same in Canada. Although it was odd because I live in a rural area and I had to do a paper vote. That's a little bit odd to me. But anyway. So here you go. Let's go on here and let's look at this. I know we've heard this before, but it's always good to make ourselves aware so that we can make other people aware. Other people that say are just absolutely speaking trash about Trump all the time. I wonder if they know this. Trump says being president cost him $2 to $5 billion. That's aside from the fact that he donates his entire salary back to the government. Now, it says, over the past 3 years, being the country's commander-in-chief cost President Donald Trump between $2 billion and $5 billion in lost earnings, he said on Monday. It cost me anywhere from $2 billion to $5 billion to be president. Between what I lose and what I could have made, Trump said during a cabinet meeting at the White House, I would have made a fortune if I just ran my business. I was doing it really well, he said, according to Fox Business. However, Trump said he doesn't regret it. If I had it to do again, I would do it in an instant, because who cares if you can afford it? What difference does it make? He told reporters, according to Reuters. Trump ran a series of resorts bearing his namesake around the world before he became president. His children have taken over the family business. Whether I lost $2 billion, $5 billion or less, it doesn't make any difference. I don't care, Trump told reporters. I'm doing this for the country. I'm doing it for the people. In the meeting, Trump also discussed looking at different locations for next year's G7 summit after he went back on a decision to host the event at his Doral resort near Miami. And the thing about them holding the resort, the Democrats were trying to say that Trump was doing this, was having these G7 meetings at his own resorts so that he could make money from them. Well, that's not true at all, because he had no intention of charging. The whole fact was that it would be cheaper to hold it at a place that he owns. But of course, you'll never hear that spin in the news, will you? No, they'll just make it seem like, oh, he was trying to rip us off as a country. They never mention the fact that he gives $400,000 of his salary away. He is doing that job for free, really, for free. Yeah, they don't ever seem to mention that. But yeah, I'm sure it's that he needed that money so bad that he wanted to hold it at his resort so he could make a few extra dollars. I'm sure that's what it's all about. Anyway, in the meeting, Trump also discussed looking at different locations for next year's G7 summit after he went back on a decision. Well, it's not that he went back on the decision. It's that he was given such a hard time, he really didn't have a choice. I don't think it'll be as exciting. I don't think it'll be as good, Trump said, of a potential new location. It'll cost the country a fortune because it's very expensive. I was willing to do it for free, but people didn't like that. They thought I may get some promotional value, as reported by Fox Business. Oh, that's what it is. He's doing it for free, but he might get some promotional value from it. Oh my gosh. Donald J. Trump, according to this tweet, Doral in Miami would have been the best place to hold the G7 and free, but too much heat from the do-nothing radical left Democrats and their partner, the fake news media. I'm surprised that they allow me to give up my $400,000 plus presidential salary. We'll find someplace else. So it's not that he just made a decision he's not going to hold it there. They threw a hissy fit, as they usually do, and just so upset that Trump may get some benefit from it, even though he gives up his entire salary, even though he was going to do it for free. He's president for free. He was going to hold the G7 summit at his resort for free. But no, that's not good enough, because there may be some value that comes to him from that. There may be something like a promotional value or something. So it's got to be bad. It's got to be bad. Anyway, he pilloried the media on Monday over the move. Doral in Miami would have been the best place to hold the G7 and free, but too much heat from the do-nothing radical left Democrats and their partner, the fake news media, he wrote in a tweet. The G7 is slated to include the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Canada, Japan, and Italy. It was formerly known as G8 until Russia was booted out in 2014 over its incursion into the Crimean Peninsula in Ukraine. So there you go. Yeah, they always have to have something to ride Trump about. Unbelievable. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know. I don't know how any of us would do the job that he's doing with that much harassment and that much. I mean, he's constantly got to cover his butt because they're constantly trying to entrap him. He hasn't committed a crime, but they're always trying to make up one. Unbelievable. All right, now let's go on, because we can, and we will. Maybe if I can get this to, maybe I have to talk nice to it. Please, please. There we go. See, you just have to be nice. That's it. Just be nice. All right. All right. President Trump cancels the Washington Post and New York Times subscriptions across all, meaning all, as in all, federal agencies, saves taxpayers thousands, and prevents spread of fake news. Now, you gotta love Trump. Seriously, you gotta love him. I mean, I know the people on the left hate him because, they're threatened, and those guys get threatened by anything, really. It doesn't take much to threaten them. They're all, I call them WSMs, whining, sniveling malcontents. That's what they are, WSMs. Anyway, so, he cancels the Washington Post and the New York Times subscriptions across all federal agencies. So, and this saves the taxpayer thousands and prevents the spread of fake news. He's a genius, and it takes away business from those that are purveyors of false news, right? Brilliant, as always. No more lies and fake news from you. Earlier this week, President Donald Trump told Fox News show host Sean Hannity that he may cancel the White House subscriptions to the far-left Washington Post and New York Times. And apparently, he did it. Yeah, when he says stuff like that, he's never just, throwing it out there. No. When he says something, he does it. President Trump says the White House, and this is Jason Campbell, President Trump says the White House is going to cancel the New York Times and Washington Post subscription, and then says he's gotten worse press than Abraham Lincoln. On Thursday, President Trump kept an... Well, let's listen to what he has to say here. Well, this is on the Biden-Ukraine thing, so never mind. I know. It's one of those days for me. I'm just kind of like, floating through the air. I don't know. Just been a weird day. On Thursday, President Trump kept another promise to the American people. Trump canceled subscriptions to the Washington Post and the New York Times across all federal agencies. Additionally, the Journal reported that a White House official confirmed that print editions of the Times and the Post weren't among the newspapers delivered to the White House on Thursday. I love it. He doesn't like the press he's receiving, so he's just not going to receive it. I wish we'd all do that. Well, actually, I don't get any newspapers because I read everything online. I'm sorry, I'm taking my socks off. Does that bother anybody? Well, it's too bad. All right. Okay, now let's go back. Okay. Now, this is worth the price of admission right here. Not that there's any price of admission, but if there was, this would be worth it. Deep State vows payback after Trump disrupts millions in illegal drug trafficking, cash, and kickbacks from Syria. Oh, is this what the big deal is? High-placed federal law enforcement sources dropped a bombshell claiming the renewed push to impeach the president is rooted, in part, in President Trump's move to pull the United States out of the conflict in Syria and stop untold millions in dirty cash from flowing into the deep state's pockets. Oh, well, that's why they're having such a fit. Yeah. You don't think they really cared about the Kurds, did you? Of course they don't. They don't care about anyone except themselves. Possibly members of their own family. But really, I think they'd probably throw their own family under the bus for a nickel. Most of them, anyway. This isn't about the Kurds, it's about the cash, one FBI source said, and I can believe it, and I bet this played very heavily into the decision that Trump made to withdraw those forces. Anyway, I'm telling you, the man proves himself a genius over and over and over again. And yet still, people call him an idiot. And that cash is no chump change. It's millions and millions of dollars flowing into the coffers of crooked politicians and deep state pockets worldwide. Federal sources paint a dark picture here, alleging crooked politicians and their benefactors are fuming. For years, it is alleged deep state players have been raking in millions in illicit profits through the manufacturing and distribution of narcotics in Syria. But that profitable network could stop producing its riches for U.S. players if the ceasefire Trump negotiated continues and if Trump plans to remove U.S. personnel from Syria. If Trump's plan to remove U.S. personnel from Syria commences. Well, back here in the U.S., Trump faces a new and angrier wave of angst from D.C. players and politicians who have launched an even more rabid push to remove him from the White House. There's panic, one source said. There are a lot of connected people making a lot of money through their contacts in Syria, and that is going to dry up fast. And you think Trump didn't know that? Oh, I can assure you he knew. The byproducts of such anxiety, crooked U.S. politicians pushing fabricated allegations against Trump to impeach, ISIS prisoners being released by frustrated deep state players as payback, and even an emergency Middle East road trip by Speaker Nancy Pelosi and senior member of Congress to Jordan, which also happened to be a major trafficking route for Syrian drug distribution to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Iraq, some of the largest markets in the world for Syria's meth pills. Well, is that what Pelosi was doing? And Schiff? And it didn't work out too well for them either, did it? No, it didn't. I bet you the King of Jordan knew why they were there. Really, I bet you they did. I bet you he did. I bet you any money he did. And I bet you everything they said to him went straight back to Trump. Coincidence? Trump has sabotaged a golden goose for the deep state, knowingly or not. Oh, I'm quite sure it was knowingly. This man is not called a genius for no reason. And he is. He truly, truly is. I don't know if any of us could go up against him. I couldn't. I'm just saying. I don't consider myself, stupid by any stretch of the imagination, but I wouldn't want to go up against Trump. I mean, the man is clearly a genius. All right, with the deep state dodging Trump with faux scandals in an attempt to remove him from the White House at every turn, you have to wonder if Trump's foreign policy in Syria is targeting the millions of dollars that politicians and their deep state connections are lining their pockets with in the U.S. and other countries too. The network, the money, and the amount of illegal narcotics coming out of Syria are massive. Syria is supplying the entire Middle East with a very potent pill form of meth called Captagon. Syria's Captagon is being trafficked throughout Europe and Africa, but Syria is also producing the ingredient to make other forms of meth worldwide, another Syrian product line being trafficked with huge profits even here in the United States. Also, ISIS fighters are not the only ones using this drug, but their bosses are profiting from its distribution and using the proceeds to expand the global footprint of the terror conglomerate. That's another wrinkle in this sordid secret story. The FBI and DEA have shared frustrations about fighting factions in the State Department to clamp down on millions of pills being manufactured in Syrian labs. Efforts to track and stop the worldwide distribution have resulted in a tug-of-war inside D.C. In June, the FBI tipped off Greek authorities about a Captagon shipment the U.S. feds tracked out of the port of Latakia, Syria. The Greeks intercepted a shipment of lumber shrouding 33 million Captagon pills with a street value of 700 million. That's one shipment worth 600 to 700 million, one federal source said. This is a multi-billion-dollar operation, and Trump just shut it down for many U.S. players. Again, perhaps as a way to stick it to the same folks who are trying to take him down. Regardless, we are getting a glimpse into a money war behind the political war unfolding in D.C. In December, a Syrian freighter en route from Latakia to Libya was intercepted near Crete with 3 million fentanyl pills worth 113 million Syrian-made Captagon pills, known locally as Abu Hilalain, aka the father of two moons, because each pill bears a logo of two crested moons, were impounded in France in 2017. In 2016, the International Narcotics Control Board flagged concern after Syria's import of pseudoephedrine, a legally traded nasal decongestant that can be used to make highly addictive and powerful methamphetamine, though not Captagon, skyrocketed. Tablets destined for Gulf countries are regularly seized in Lebanon, once from a Saudi prince, sometimes having been moved across the Syrian border. In Jordan, 47 million Captagon pills were reportedly confiscated in 2018, according to Jordan's Public Security Directorate, and the Maryland-based National Center for Biotechnology Information now describes Syria as the premier producer and exporter of counterfeit forms of Captagon. The drug, which gives a faster high than traditional amphetamine, has for years been a favorite among ISIS fighters, but its export from the country through ports like Latakia that are controlled by the Bashar Assad government suggests that the Syrian regime might now be turning to fentanyl sales internationally to bolster its treasury. At the very least, suggest experts, it might be allowing corrupt officials to carry out trade in the illegal substance to keep them loyal. It is plausible to think that with this amount of money involved, corruption and rent-seeking is a widespread practice, says Maziyar Gahibi, a lecturer at Oxford University, an expert on Middle East drug policies, and with shrinking sources of revenue, all the more logical. Captagon, Biocaptan, and Fitin were the brand names for drugs whose main active ingredient is phentoline, which was legal in the U.S. until 1981, when its addictive properties saw it categorized as a Schedule I drug alongside heroin and cocaine. When legal in the 1960s and 70s, it was used to calm hyperactive children and for patients suffering from narcolepsy and depression. By 1986, it was banned in most countries, yet as with most narcotics, the ban only drove production underground, with southeastern Europe emerging as the manufacturing hub. Faced with the increasing international pressure, production shifted to the Middle East after 2011. Until then, Syria had no history as a manufacturer or exporter of the drug, unlike Afghanistan, another nation at war that has been a poppy exporter for decades. While the extent of the Syrian regime's direct role in the export of the drug is hard to determine, a combination of the war, crippling international sanctions, and the destruction of much of its regular economy have forced the government to look for new ways to make money. Werner Sepp, the INCB president, said in 2016 that very high amounts of pseudoephedrine and other precursors ordered by Syria have subsequently disappeared. He warned that narcotics from those ingredients might be manufactured and produced for exporting. The INCB asked Syria for an explanation but hasn't received one yet. There's a reason why fentanyl is Syria's export of choice. It's one of the most sought-after narcotics in the Middle East. In Saudi Arabia, the pill, which contains caffeine and quinine, a painkiller, is more popular than cocaine, weed, heroin, or ecstasy. Captagon is also becoming increasingly popular in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and North Africa. While a batch of 200 sells for about $70 in Lebanon, in wealthy Gulf states, a single pill can fetch between $10 and $20. So, and it says this story is developing. Well, this is a very interesting story indeed, because, I'm thinking that is probably what the entire huge ordeal is about, is that he is cutting off money that flows into the pockets of the deep state and funds their black ops. That's what the problem is. And I think that he has been trying to do that, even just by the executive order that he signed December 21st. Was that last year or the year before? I'm not sure. I can't remember now, but it might have been last year that he signed that will, no, actually it was the year before that. Sorry. But it's basically, if you're engaged in illegal activity and trafficking, human trafficking, so forth, all your assets can be seized. And I think that this is a way to take money out of the pockets of the deep state, obviously. So I think that he is doing probably far more than we see on the surface. Anyway, I thought that was an extremely interesting article. Hopefully you did as well. All right, and let's look at this. Steve Scalise says, now hang on here. Oops, sorry. I'm telling you, it's just been one of those days for me. And it's continuing to be one of those days. I actually, I was fixing something with wood glue. And, well, I wood glued my hands. Yes, I did. That's why you shouldn't give children glue. Not crazy glue, anyway. Well, it wasn't crazy glue. It was Gorilla Glue. But, yeah. Some people just shouldn't have glue. I'm probably one of those people. All right. Now, Steve Scalise, 75% of the representatives in the House are being denied access to these impeachment proceedings. That means 230 million Americans are unrepresented and have their voices silenced in this process. Time for Schiff's impeachment in secret scheme to end. You deserve transparency. Yes, I do deserve transparency. You deserve transparency as well. Absolutely. And let's listen to what he has to say.
Do you know if you take the voting members of Congress who are not allowed in that room, it represents over 230 million American citizens who are denied representation in those impeachment hearings. Over 230 million Americans who are denied access because 75% of voting members of Congress are not allowed in the room. So you can talk about who's allowed in the room. Everybody should be allowed in the room. The press should be allowed in the room. Cameras should be in the room like in previous impeachments. If you want to try to remove a president, maybe you don't agree with the 2016 election result, and you're concerned about what might happen next year. That's not why you impeach a president, by the way. But if you really do want to search for the truth, you search for the truth in public.
That's
the people of this country ought to be able to see what's happening. Shouldn't be a selected story in the newspaper. Do you know if you take the voting members of Congress...
And, and it's just starting over again. But, it's true. Like, if you're going to search for the truth, if you're going to search for the light, you don't do it in a darkened room, right? How can you expect... If they have all this evidence and they have all these reasons why he should be impeached and whatever, then let's hear it. But of course we know they don't. And they're bluffing. As always. That's all they have. That's all they have. They just have games left to play. They don't have any evidence. They don't have any evidence of any wrongdoing. And so all they have left is these little games that they play. All right. And this from The Dirty Truth, although this isn't the dirty truth, I think it's a pretty clean truth. Michael Horowitz sent a letter to the heads of 4 congressional committees saying the Pfizer report is near completion. So this is good news. Now, I'm not going to hold my breath, but we were told at the end of October, and the end of October is quickly rushing towards us. It's hurtling towards us even as we speak. So let's hope. And Chuck Grassley said, all of the delays and excuses why the Horowitz IG Pfizer report isn't public yet after several months of anticipation of its deep issues leads me to the suspicion it's going to be deep 6 by the deep state. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if it can be deep 6'd by the deep state, to tell you the truth. I think we're a little too far along for that. But I've been wrong before. Not often. No, I've been wrong before. I'd like to think it's not often, but well, that's just in my head. I like to play those little games like, sure, it's not that often I'm wrong, but really, probably All right. IG Horowitz has just announced the report will be released very soon. This from Trumpster. Not in any way associated with the real Donald Trump. IG Horowitz has just announced the report will be released very soon with limited redactions and has national security implications. Very soon is the key phrase. Well, maybe our idea of very soon isn't their idea. And I hear a cat tearing up something, which I'm fearing is my couch. Yeah, they like that couch. All right. And this from Representative Michael Waltz. I'm a Green Beret and a proud veteran. This impeachment process does not make me proud. As a sitting member of Congress, I still can't read the transcripts on impeaching our president. I've fought in third world countries that have a fairer process than what we are seeing today. And that's a sad statement, really, that he's been to third world countries that have a fairer process than what's taking place today in the U.S. That's sad. And this by J.T. Lewis. This is very interesting as well. So I felt compelled to show it to you. This is responding to Giffords, who said, for Joe Biden, Sandy Hook was a breaking point. In his own words, watch him describe meeting the families and first responders of Newtown and how this resonated with his own experience of losing a child. Well, that's all well and good, except he didn't meet with any of the family. And J.T. Lewis said, this is a lie. Obama came to Sandy Hook and met with every family. Joe Biden did not. In fact, my family was not allowed on Air Force One because we refused to support Obama/Biden gun control efforts. So even though they were with family that lost someone there, they were not allowed to go on Air Force One because they didn't support the narrative of gun control. How do you like that? So yeah, there's Joe Biden lying again. It's something he does very, very well, and he does it without even thinking because, you know, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. That's what scripture says. So if you are full of lies, that's what's going to come out when you speak, is lies. So that's what he has in his heart. He is a liar by nature. He follows after his father, who is the father of lies. Yeah, that's what's in his heart. That's what comes out. All right, now I just have one more thing to go over tonight. It's going to be a little bit shorter night than it has been before. So, let's take a look at this and then. Okay, Representative McCarthy says it took only 90 seconds to destroy Schiff's star witness testimony. That's interesting. Not surprising. It's just interesting. If you wanted to know why House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Representative Adam Schiff, and the Democrats wanted an impeachment inquiry that wasn't actually voted on by the full House and didn't actually contain any of the norms that any other impeachment inquiry had, like open hearings, subpoena power for everyone, Tuesday should have provided the goods. From all accounts, Ukrainian envoy William Taylor's testimony was a brutal hit for Donald Trump and his administration. Most media outlets seem to take it as a prima facie evidence of quid pro quo, an envoy's damning account of Trump's Ukraine pressure and its consequences, the New York Times headline declared. The Times had Taylor's opening statement and mentioned all of the high points, at least as far as they were concerned. The fact that he said that military aid was being held up unless the Ukrainians agree to investigations into Burisma and a dodgy theory about the DNC email hack originating from Ukraine. The fact that Taylor claimed that there were two channels of U.S. policymaking and implementation, one regular and one highly irregular in Ukraine. The fact that the latter channel was run by presidential attorney Rudolph Giuliani. Mr. Taylor's vivid depiction illustrated the differences between the impeachment inquiry against Mr. Trump and the ones that consume President Richard M. Nixon and Bill Clinton. While the Watergate and Monica Lewinsky cover-ups involve the integrity of American democracy and system of justice, the Ukraine scandal also extends to matters of life and death, as well as geopolitics on a grand scale, the Times reported. Mr. Taylor's testimony could make it harder for Republicans to brush off Mr. Trump's actions as unimportant or distorted by partisan rivals. Defending Ukraine against Russia, while I use my Acme Cat Be Gone. Excuse me momentarily here. Yes, well, it keeps my furniture alive. All right. So, all right, as well as, okay. Mr. Taylor's testimony could make it harder for Republicans to brush off Mr. Trump's action as unimportant or distorted by partisan rivals. Defending Ukraine against Russian encroachment, much like defending the United States' Kurdish allies against Turkey, has been a priority for many Republicans who complained that President Barack Obama did not stand up to Moscow aggressively enough. This was smoking gun type stuff, at least from the sound of things, and the Times was hardly alone here. The thing is, though, nobody had actually listened to the testimony, particularly any questions that were asked of the former diplomat. And given the strictures of the closed-door hearings, there's a limited amount of stuff that could be discussed. That's rather important when you consider the fact that the House Minority Leader said the Texas GOP representative, John Ratcliffe, was able to destroy Taylor's narrative of a quid pro quo in 90 seconds. Appearing on Laura Ingram's Fox News show on Tuesday night after Taylor's testimony, California Republican Representative Kevin McCarthy said that the media's narrative didn't match what actually happened in the hearing earlier in the day. Adam Schiff won't let us talk about what happened, McCarthy said on the Ingram angle. There is no quid pro quo. But as the House Minority Leader noted, there's literally no way for a transcript to escape the watchful eye of Schiff or the Democrats. Now, let's take a listen here. I'm not sure how long this is.
What's happening in the intel community today? And the committee, now even the members on the committee, the Republicans, cannot read any information unless one of Adam Schiff's own staffers are in the room next to them. No one has ever done this in Parliament. And if we're wondering who that anonymous person writing, I bet it's Adam Schiff. Remember how he made up the whole transcript when he's talking before the committee of what he wanted the phone call to say? And he won't release anything that's said today. They go out to the press and they said, Taylor, it was terrible. And Adam Schiff won't let us talk about what happened. But I'm hearing, and I just saw Devin talk about this on TV, in 90 seconds, we had John Radcliffe destroy Taylor's whole argument.
Congressman Radcliffe, tell us what happened.
Well, we can't really talk about it, but what we're finding is just his questioning in 90 seconds refuted everything of what Adam Schiff believes out there. There is no quid pro quo. And the one thing that you find out in this process is all this information is just like that whistleblower. Remember, we haven't seen that whistleblower anywhere. Everything's second, third, and fourth-hand information.
I've been hearing a little bit about who this second supposed whistleblower might be. This is becoming more evident.
All right. So there you have it. So what's happening in the Intel Committee today, even the members of the committee, the Republicans, cannot read any information unless one of Adam Schiff's own staffers are in the room next to them, he said. The one thing you find out in this process is that all this information is just like that whistleblower, McCarthy told Ingram. Everything is second, third, and fourth-hand information. They go out to the press and say Taylor is terrible and Adam Schiff won't let us talk about what happened. In 90 seconds, we had Texas GOP Representative John Ratcliffe destroy his whole argument. We are finding just his questioning refuted everything of what Adam Schiff leaves out there. There is no quid pro quo. By the way, McCarthy was hardly the only Republican claiming the media's coverage of Taylor's testimony had wildly overestimated the damage it had done to the president's cause. The leaks out of today's witness interview have been laughably overblown and don't tell the full story, North Carolina Representative Mark Meadows tweeted. Still no evidence of quid pro quo. Much of the statement and hearsay allegations don't hold up against any real scrutiny. The full transcript should be released immediately. So there you go. That from Mark Meadows. Spent another entire day in Schiff's super secret bunker in the Capitol basement for Ambassador Taylor's deposition. Representative Lee Zeldin of New York tweeted, sorry, I'm hearing a cat scratch my couch and it has me very distracted. I'd like to keep my couch. If I like my couch, can I keep my couch? Of course, you know, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Well, I like my couch and I'd like to keep it. All right. So hang on here. I think I've missed something. Okay, so this from Lee Zeldin. Spent another entire day in Schiff's super secret bunker in the Capitol basement for Ambassador Taylor's deposition. This transcript should be released ASAP, along with all of the other transcripts. Much of his leaked opening statement collapsed, but Schiff keeps the public in the dark on that. All of this brings up a good point. If this is so damning, why haven't the transcripts been released? Well, we know. For all we know, this was indeed every bit as bad as Democrats and the media are saying it is. All right then, where's the transcript? Like in past impeachment inquiries, of course, all of this should have been conducted in public. If Taylor had indeed been destroyed, we'd have seen it on television. If he destroyed the president, we'd have seen that too. Instead, what we have is the political equivalent of Schrodinger's cat. As long as you don't open the box, it could be impeachable or it could be nothing. That's not how any of this is supposed to work. An impeachment inquiry isn't just a fast track to articles of impeachment designed to elicit maximum amount of explosive media coverage with the maximum amount of secrecy and control. Yet that's what we have, and for some reason we have people openly wondering why there remain conservative doubters. There you go. And I can't for the life of me understand how this is being allowed to continue, to tell you the truth. I don't understand. I don't understand why this can't be shut down. If one of you guys know, if you guys have some insight into this, please let me know, because I'm wondering. I don't, unless I'm missing something, I just don't understand why this can't be shut down. You take an impeachment vote and you vote whether you're going to have the inquiry or whatever. And what is the big deal here? I don't understand. Now, they know they're not going to get the votes. I know that that is an issue. And so they're trying to, play this little charade here, but I just don't understand why is this being allowed to continue. So let me know your comments below, and as always, I do try to comb through as many comments as I can, and I do appreciate you commenting as well, and I appreciate I see the same people commenting all the time, and I feel like I know you guys, so, and I'm sure you probably feel like you know me as well. So there you go. I like it that way. I like the fact that we are kind of like a family here. So anyway, that is it for tonight. I am going to leave it there, and I will be back tomorrow evening, hopefully earlier, hopefully, but one never knows. All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Stay safe, sleep well, and keep seeking truth. Good night.